Namo Original Master Shakyamuni Buddha. Today, we have the affinity to be here together for what is both the monthly meditation retreat of Phatnak Xe Loi Pagoda and the occasion of the Vasa, the annual rains retreat for the Sangha of monks and nuns. According to tradition, the Buddha stipulated that during the rainy season, monks and nuns should remain within a designated boundary and not travel far. This boundary wasn't confined to the temple grounds. It could extend to wherever the monastics could go on their alms round. In the old days, for example, an abbot might see that while the Sangha resided in the Vihara, they could walk for alms as far as the local market. He would then establish the retreat boundary accordingly. For the duration of the Vasa, they would only travel from the Vihara to the market and back, not journeying far to teach. That was the meaning. Understanding this, the lay disciples and patrons would support the Sangha so they would not have to worry about sustenance and could devote themselves to practice during these 3 months. However, the rainy season in India differs from that in Vietnam. Even within Vietnam, the north is different from the south. Cambodia is different and Laos is different. Therefore, the venerable masters of each region decide which months the rains retreat will fall in. Here in southern Vietnam, we traditionally begin on the Buddha's birthday and conclude on Ulambana, a full 3 months. We are accustomed to this tradition, but if you should ever encounter a place where the Vasa is observed in different months, do not be surprised. The reason is likely that the climate and weather in that region are different from ours. Today, we will discuss a rather strange topic. Buddhism is too difficult. Buddhism is too difficult. When we say Buddhism is too difficult, are we discouraging one another? No, because it is a truth. And this is a truth that the Buddha himself acknowledged. Right after the Buddha attained enlightenment, his wisdom of awakening was utterly supreme. He felt a sense of despair. This is recorded in the sutras. It is not something we invented. After his awakening, the Buddha was immediately disheartened. Why? Because the realm of his realization was so transcendent, so extraordinary, so great, so absolute. And it was simply too far from the mental level of sentient beings, and by sentient beings, I mean human beings. As for animals, there is absolutely no hope. Absolutely no hope. This means that even with the intelligence of humankind, with our capacity to create, to innovate, to build the civilizations of this world, we are still too far from the state of enlightenment. This is what made the Buddha despair, because it was too difficult. The truth was too difficult. The Buddha himself said so, let alone us. That is the reason why many who attain the way do not go on to teach. Sometimes, when we look at other religions, we see a charismatic leader who builds a powerful institution. From a Buddhist perspective, the things they teach can seem simple and easy to understand, allowing their religion to expand and flourish. Yet, in Buddhism, we would say that attaining the level of just one arhat or just one anagami is an immense achievement. But then, many who reach these states of realization remain silent. It is simply because of the difficulty of Buddhism. It's difficult and it's too difficult. Not just ordinarily difficult. However, after some time, the Brahma deities descended to request that the Buddha teach. You see, the deities are always watching us. The way we practice does not escape their notice. From the time the Buddha left his home to practice asceticism until the moment he sat in meditation under the Bodhi tree, the deities were always watching, waiting for the day he would attain enlightenment. At that moment, the Brahma king came down to pay homage to the Buddha. Now, when we hear the simple phrase, a Brahma came to pay homage, we must understand that in truth, the bodies of these Brahma kings are as vast as mountains. To interact with the Buddha, they had to shrink their forms down to a human scale. Although their auras remained brilliant, they had to reduce their size to be equal to or smaller than the Buddha to speak with him. Their true forms are as large as mountains. They earnestly implored the Buddha to turn the wheel of Dharma, and the Buddha agreed, because he saw that, in the era of his appearance, many beings who shared a deep affinity with him were also appearing in the world, waiting for him to awaken them. And those great disciples like Sariputta, Moggallana, Rahula, and Ananda, so many of them, thousands of arhats, were all what we must call extraordinary beings. Those who can attain the way are all people with extraordinary wholesome roots. not ordinary humans like us. That is why they were able to receive the Buddha's teachings, practice them, and attain the way. Some followed the Buddha for many years before their attainment. But there were also astonishing cases of people who met the Buddha, heard a single verse or a single Dharma talk, and attained the way on the spot, having never practiced for a single day. For example, Queen Kema, the wife of King Bimbisara, constantly avoided going to hear the teachings. The king pleaded with her until she finally relented and went. In that one single session of listening to the Dharma, she attained arhatship. The principle for an arhat is that there are only two choices. One is to ordain as a monastic, the other is to enter nirvana. An arhat is not permitted to remain in the form of a layperson. At that very moment, the Buddha spoke. As soon as she attained realization, he said, "You have only two choices, ordain or enter nirvana." King Bimbisara, still in love with his wife and terrified of losing her to death, hastily cried out, "Please, let her ordain." And so she became a leading nun in the community of the bamboo grove. That is one case. Another very strange case involved a circus acrobat balancing high upon a bamboo pole. The Buddha walked by and spoke a 4-line verse. There, atop that pole, the man attained the way instantly, flew down and paid homage to the Buddha. These are the cases of people with incredible wholesome roots. They hadn't practiced for a single day. They just heard one verse, one teaching, and attained the way. That was the time of the Buddha. But in our time, as we grow more and more distant from him, we must endure a bitter truth. We are following a religion that is too difficult. Too difficult. This is a fact we must accept. Usually, when we come to the temple, the master tells us, "Chant the sutras, my child." He strikes the wooden fish, and we sit and chant. He says, "Bow to the Buddha, my child," and he leads the prostrations while we follow along. "Repent, my child." And we go to the temple to repent. Today, I am performing a life release ceremony. Come, release the animals, and we go with him to release the animals. From time to time, when he makes offerings to the Sangha, we help him. Seems easy, doesn't it? It seems that practicing Buddhism is easy. Whatever the master tells us to do, we simply do it. But these activities have not yet penetrated the core of Buddhist cultivation. If we go deeper into the very heart of the practice, we hit a massive wall, a great boulder that seems impossible to overcome. This is the difficulty of Buddhism. If we look back, we will see that Buddhism is a minority religion in the world. The number of Buddhists is not large. Christianity and Catholicism are large. Islam is large. Buddhism is much smaller. Much smaller. It has been opposed and harmed, and even from within, Buddhism has weakened itself. As a result, the number of Buddhist disciples, both ordained and lay, is declining worldwide. Many temples have become mere tourist attractions, with no one practicing there. In countries renowned for their Buddhist heritage, even where Buddhism is the state religion, the people often know nothing about it. For example, we had the good fortune to meet some young people from Myanmar. In their country, university education is conducted in English, so they spoke it well and we could communicate. It was then that we had a startling realization. They knew nothing about Buddhism. We asked what their monks taught. They said, "The monks don't teach anything. They chant sutras in Pali, a language we don't understand." They explained that going to the temple was a duty taught by their parents, not the monks. Their parents simply told them, "If you have money, offer it to the temple. If you have rice, offer it to the temple. Pray for blessings." They understood Buddhism only in this way. Consequently, they felt no deep respect for the Buddha or love for his teachings. It was only when these young people came to Vietnam that they met Vietnamese Buddhists, even lay people, who spoke English and demonstrated a profound understanding of the Dharma. After these encounters, the young people from Myanmar sought out Vietnamese temples to formally take refuge. They came from a nation where Buddhism is the state religion. Yet they found the path in Vietnam. Does this not worry you? Someone who doesn't understand Buddhism is easily swayed by a foreign doctrine. Because they don't understand their own tradition, They have no foundation to stand firm upon. Only those who have awakened to the Dharma, who truly understand it, can remain steadfast in following the Buddha. If we only follow what our parents told us, then the day someone comes along who speaks more persuasively than our parents, we will abandon Buddhism in an instant. And do such people exist? Yes, many of them. They are skillful, well-trained persuaders. They will speak of another religion, and they will sound far more compelling than our parents, whose advice was simply, "Child, if you have money, offer it to the monks. Pray for blessings." The trained persuader will present a new path that seems infinitely more attractive, and we will abandon our tradition to follow them. These are the dangers faced even in so-called Buddhist nations, where in reality the Dharma is in decline, not thriving. And so, because Buddhism is too difficult, and because the wholesome roots of people in later generations are diminishing, the level of comprehension and attainment continues to lessen. Consequently, the propagation of Buddhism throughout the world is also weakening, gradually weakening. And when the teaching is weak, are there many people who practice or few? The number of people practicing in accordance with the true Dharma is gradually decreasing. We must accept this painful truth. This includes the ordained. Including the ordained, one can live entirely within a temple, in a completely religious environment, stepping outside to see the Buddha, the altar, the cabinet of sutras, speaking always with solemnity, and still not be guaranteed to be a true practitioner. This includes the ordained. For lay people, the gap is often far, far greater. This is a fact. Because Buddhism is difficult, practitioners achieve few results. And if practitioners achieve few results, will their teaching be effective? No, not effective. If a person does not have a firm grasp of the path, they lack the inner strength to convince others to practice. This is a truth. Someone who does not practice correctly will find it difficult to persuade others. Take a simple example. If I were not a generous person, I could never in my life ask anyone else to be generous. Only if I am a person who loves the act of giving can I advise others. Try to be generous. Try to do good deeds. Accept a little less for yourself to help others in their time of need. When I speak, people will listen. Why? Because I speak from a place of deep experience. But if I were a stingy, miserly person, I could never convince anyone to be generous. The same applies to monks and nuns. They must uphold the precepts. There are many precepts, but which one poses the greatest threat to their holy life? Sensual desire. This is the instinct that most endangers their path. Why? Because it is a natural human instinct. If a teacher is lax in upholding this precept, it is difficult for them to teach others, to call upon others, to convince others to keep it. Is that not right? It is a certainty. But if that teacher is resolute, strictly maintaining the precepts, then they will possess the inner strength to convince others to do the same. That is the principle. The Dharma of the Buddha is extremely difficult. If a person lacks the wisdom to practice it, they truly cannot explain to others how to practice in line with the true Dharma. That is the truth. Only one who can practice the Dharma deeply, meticulously, and accurately can effectively teach, persuade, and guide others to practice correctly. That is the principle. But in a Buddhism that is too difficult, who in this day and age can practice it with enough precision to propagate it? This is a great difficulty. Precisely because the number of people practicing correctly is dwindling, the effectiveness of the teaching is also waning. And when the teaching is less effective, we will see that all beings, lay people, intellectuals, ordinary folk, will gradually misunderstand the Dharma, drift away, and become lost. And when we misunderstand the Dharma, when we are lost, what becomes of our souls? They become like a wild, untamed forest, easily lured away by wrong paths and false teachings. This is yet another threat to the survival of Buddhism. Precisely because Buddhism is difficult, other religions find it easy to grow. Let me give you an example. A Buddhist comes to the temple. Why do they come? Honestly, who here first came to the temple seeking liberation? No one. So why do we first come? We come to ask for things. We have some belief in spirits and deities. So we think that if we come to the temple and pray, it will probably work. We are fortunate to have an affinity with Buddhism, so we come to ask the Buddha instead of going elsewhere. All of us first approach religion because we want something out of desire, out of greed. No one comes looking for enlightenment or liberation. Why? Because no one knows what enlightenment or liberation even is. Is that right? So we just come to the temple and ask. And if the master in charge also doesn't know what enlightenment and liberation are, he cannot awaken that dream in others. So what does he do? What does he do to satisfy the demands of the lay people? He can only pray on their behalf. Master, tomorrow I have a deal to buy a piece of land. Please pray that I get a good price. Or, why has my business been so slow this year? With the pandemic, so few customers have come to my restaurant. Please pray that more people come. They just want more customers, even if those customers get sick later. They pray for all sorts of nonsense. And what must the venerable monks do to survive? They must meet the demands of their followers. Come, Master, perform a ceremony for me, pray for me. And is the prayer effective? I ask you honestly, is it effective? No, because its effectiveness depends on the deities, not on the master. For example, someone says, Master, my father is very sick in the hospital. Here is his name. Please pray for him to get better. The master prays, but inside he is trembling. He has no idea if, after his prayer, the man will recover or die. A person gives him the name and the master prays, but in his heart he feels like he's playing the lottery. And just as he finishes, the hospital calls to report that the father has died. Will people still come to that temple? No. But what if, after he prays, they get a call that afternoon saying, Oh, my father is breathing more easily. He's getting better. Will people still come to the temple then? Yes. This master's prayers are powerful, but if the patient dies the moment the prayer ends, the temple is finished. So when they pray, they are just gambling inside with no idea if it will work. So what can a master do to ensure his prayers are effective, so that people will keep coming to the temple with offerings to support him? What must he do? He must use talismans. This is where a corrupt practice emerges. The use of talismans. They travel to Cambodia, Laos, or Thailand to acquire magical charms, bring them back, and use them to fulfill the requests of their followers. Prayers for business success, for love, for family harmony, for everything. They hear that Thai or Cambodian talismans are powerful, so they bring them back to use. As a result, while the outward form of a monk and a temple remains, the inside has been completely transformed into an external, non-Buddhist path. This situation is becoming increasingly common. It is just beginning in Vietnam, but in Cambodia and Thailand, it is already pervasive. Nearly every monk knows how to use talismans. Is that still Buddhism? You see the form, but the essence is gone. And why does this happen? To meet the demand of followers who come for one primary reason, to ask for things. That's it. Religion survives by fulfilling this demand for intervention. And now we can understand why other religions are so strong while Buddhism is weak. Why? Because Buddhism is too difficult. Buddhism demands that you practice for liberation, for enlightenment. It presents the law of cause and effect. If you want success, happiness, beauty, or wealth, you are required to perform many meritorious deeds. Is performing meritorious deeds easy or difficult? Difficult. Therefore, the path of Buddhism is too difficult. If we want a beautiful result, we must sow the seed, plant the tree, plow the soil, water it, and nurture it. Only then, one day, will the flowers and fruits be abundant. In other religions, what we might call external paths or wrong teachings, you don't need to sow a cause. Just pray, and you can pick a fruit immediately. But you don't know whose tree that fruit comes from. You just reach out and take it. Then one day you get caught, and you finally realize you've been stealing from someone else's tree. In Buddhism, if you want to harvest fruit, you must first plant your own tree. When it blossoms, you may plant one seed, but you will harvest 10,000 fruits, because the tree is yours. In other religions, you don't sow a cause. You just pray and get an instant fruit. But you don't know whose fruit it is, until the day you discover it belongs to someone else and you have to pay the price. And what is that price? Let's say you go to a talisman master. Master, my shop is failing. Please give me some magic to improve my business. The master gives you a charmed paper to hang up. And it works. Customers immediately flock to your store. But later, you must pay the price because that success was not your fruit to harvest. It was borrowed from others. The master will set his price. You must give me half of your revenue to feed my spirit soldiers. They are the ones who herded customers to you. Without them, your shop would fail. I must pay them every day, and it is very expensive. And so, no matter how much profit you see, can you enjoy it? No, you pay it all back to the master. That is the cost of taking a fruit that does not belong to you, a fruit that defies the law of cause and effect. And yet, much of the world follows this way. Nearly every other religion and belief system on this planet operates on the principle. Just pray to the gods, and you will receive. Only Buddhism stands in opposition. To get a good result, to harvest beautiful fruit, you must sow the cause. You must perform meritorious deeds. And this is by no means easy. Is it easy? Think about it. When the government calls for blood donations during a shortage, is it easy to go and give your blood? Not at all. To have your own blood drawn from your body for someone else is not a small thing. Or imagine you have just enough rice to last your family until the end of the month. Then you discover your neighbors are starving. To share your rice with them means your own family will go without. Is that easy or difficult? Difficult. When we perform meritorious deeds, when we are generous, we must endure loss and sacrifice. We spend our time, our energy, our resources. This creates discomfort, and we must overcome that discomfort to help others. That is not easy at all. Therefore, Buddhism is a very difficult path, and that is just about making merit, which allows us to rise above our ordinary station in life. Thanks to understanding the law of cause and effect, we perform good deeds, our merit grows, and our standing in the universe gradually improves. That alone is difficult enough. But now, the Buddha teaches us something even more difficult, to open our spirit. We are used to thinking with the worldly mind. Simply choosing good and avoiding evil is already a challenge. Now, we must open our spirit so that this mind can become something pure, light, luminous, and holy. Is this easy or difficult? It is another layer of difficulty, 1,000 times more difficult than making merit. Why? Because this difficulty requires us to fight against ourselves. Making merit was already a battle against our own selfishness. Now, we must battle our own inner mind to purify it and make it holy. This is 1,000 times harder. It is like scolding yourself. It is like taking a whip to your own back. It is like humiliating yourself. It is easy to humiliate others. It is easy to curse others. But to turn that criticism back upon yourself is completely unnatural and 1,000 times more difficult. But to enter the spiritual world, we must first learn to see our own faults. We must know our own mistakes, down to a level as subtle as a single strand of hair, split 100 times over. Difficult or easy? It is extremely difficult to see our own faults. Yet we can see the faults of others in an instant. As our ancestors used to say, a fly buzzes past, and I know if it's a male or a female. We are that sharp, that clever. When it comes to judging others, we are experts at evaluating, criticizing, and denigrating other people. But when we turn that lens back on ourselves, what happens? We are helpless. We cannot do it. Why? Because we are only accustomed to praising ourselves. In Buddhism, we come face to face with a wall that we must overcome, knowing our own faults. This is an extremely difficult thing, and our Buddhism is this difficult path. We must fight with ourselves. This path is incredibly difficult. Our mind is a turbulent storm of greed, anger, and delusion. With every word, there is anger, competition, selfishness. Our thoughts are filled with petty, ordinary, and sometimes cruel desires. Now, we must wash all of that clean from our mind. And since this battle takes place within our own mind, can anyone on the outside see it? No. No one knows if we are good or bad inside. so no one can help us or guide us. We are utterly alone in our own inner world, left to overcome greed, anger, delusion, desire, arrogance, and doubt. Alone. And this is truly another difficulty. Another difficulty. For example, if you walk with a limp, everyone can see it. People will come to help you, to support you across the street. Or if you're going the wrong way, people will correct you. No, the city is that way, not this way. People can see your external mistakes and help you fix them. But the task of purifying your inner mind, of overcoming your greed and anger, no one can see that to offer you advice. And there are religions that will fulfill that request. They cater to the greed, anger, and delusion of human beings. They never ask you to change. So people can remain as they are and still feel like they are following a religion. It is easy to follow such a path, and those religions grow larger and larger. But when you come to Buddhism and say, "Master, I am so angry at that person," what does the master say? "Do not be angry, my child. Everything happens for a reason." A religion that restrains greed, controls anger, and extinguishes delusion is truly hard to swallow. And yet, this is the religion we are entering. This is the religion we have chosen. We have chosen a path where we meet a true teacher who constantly pushes back against our ego, who won't let us be greedy, angry, or deluded. And honestly, sometimes we get angry at the teacher for it. We don't even want to come to the temple anymore because he doesn't satisfy our ego. Meanwhile, that other teacher over there, when we are angry, he sides with us. Whoever we want to harm, he helps us. Whatever we want to gain, he helps us gain it. He supports and amplifies our greed, anger, and delusion. We immediately feel an affinity for that path, right? So imagine you have two teachers. You are angry at someone and go to confide in them. The first teacher just says, "Don't be angry, my child. Let it go." You go to the second teacher, and he says, "You're right. That person deserves it. You must give them a piece of your mind." Which teacher do you feel more affection for? The one who sides with you, right? We love him because he agrees with us. It is the same with religion. We feel more comfortable with a religion that validates our greed, anger, and delusion. It's easier to follow. But when we come to a religion that constantly tells us to put down our anger, our greed, our delusion, we don't feel quite so fond of it. This is a reality. A religion that exploits our defilements will have many followers. A religion that seeks to quell them will have few. Who are its followers? Only those with wisdom, with wholesome roots. With virtue will choose the path of eradicating greed, anger, and delusion. Remember this. Therefore, the people who are willing to come to Buddhism, to sit here listening to this lecture, even as I scold and admonish and still feel joyful, it is only because you belong to a class of people with wisdom, with wholesome roots, and with virtue. You have chosen a religion that goes against the self, a religion that goes against greed, anger, and delusion, only because you possess these qualities. A person without them would have rejected this path long ago. That is why, among the 8 billion people on this planet, it is not easy to find someone who chooses to follow the path of Buddhism. Because Buddhism is too difficult to understand. Other religions shift the responsibility onto the gods. Your house burns down? The gods are punishing you. You win the lottery? The gods have blessed you. Everything is attributed to them. We bear no responsibility, and so we feel lighthearted. It's all up to the gods. But in Buddhism, where does the responsibility lie? Does it lie with the Buddha? No, it lies with each and every one of us. We fail because we lack merit. We succeed because we have merit. The power is within us. And so, understanding the law of cause and effect, we must struggle to change our karma. We must create merit little by little. A few days ago, I met a group of business people. One woman stood up and said, "Master, it has been 20 years since I last saw you." I asked what she meant. She said, "I have been listening to your Dharma talks for 20 years, but this is the first time we have met. There is something I must tell you. When I first started listening, I was an ugly person. Looking at her, you could still see faint traces of her past features, but she wasn't plain anymore. I was poor, miserable, and struggling. I listened to your advice, Master. I bowed to the Buddha and I did meritorious deeds, little by little. I was so poor I had no money for grand offerings. But I listened to you. In my poverty, I did what I could. I picked up trash. I planted trees. I helped people with the few coins I had. And now, 20 years later, I sit before you like this. And it was true, her complexion was radiant. And I am now a member of the business association. To be in a business association, one must be successful. Clearly, by listening to the teachings and making merit little by little, her life had completely changed. From a destitute person to a successful businesswoman, she had risen steadily and surely. You see, it really works. Making merit for 20 years brings real results. Praying for 20 years offers no such guarantee. That is just about making merit. Now there is another difficulty: the realms of meditation and realization. When a meditator's mind becomes pure, their consciousness transforms. They attain states of peace, clarity, and subtle wonders. So what can be said about this? The meditation masters who have had these realizations describe their experiences to convince others to practice. But they have already attained it. What about us, who have not? Does this mean that if you have not attained these states, you are forbidden to speak of meditation? If that were the case, where would Buddhism go? No one would practice meditation anymore. If no one teaches meditation, no one will practice it. And would Buddhism still be Buddhism? No, because Buddhism is the religion of meditation. What is needed is to find the right path and practice correctly. With the right method, your progress may be slow or fast, but it will be steady. You will walk surely on the path of enlightenment. But now, so many years after the Buddha, with the great arhats gone, finding that most correct path of meditation is not easy at all. This is another difficulty, a great difficulty, too difficult. Around the world, people recognize that meditation is a wonderful treasure of humanity, and they have begun to teach it. There is a video from India showing meditation being taught to prison inmates. At first, they struggle. Some nod off, others are lost in thought. But gradually, after a few years, the inmates are transformed. When they are released, they embrace the prison warden, no longer as an enemy, but as a teacher. They brought meditation into the prisons. Elsewhere in India, corporations and universities teach meditation. In Spain, some schools offer it. In South Korea, workers meditate before their shifts. Even some units in the US military have their soldiers learn meditation. All over the world, these experiments are happening. But after many years, what are the results? The results are unclear. They are not significant, not impressive. These programs continue quietly, but they have not become established scientific subjects because the data is not compelling enough. Many have tried, but the results are close to zero. The files are put away, and the experiments continue only as long as the funding lasts. Even within Buddhism, different schools and meditation centers open, but the results are often not clear. If we praise the meditation of the Buddha, but when people try it, they get no results, then what is happening? This is another difficulty. We know with certainty that the Buddha's enlightenment came through meditation. We cannot deny this path. We must meditate. But if we sit with no results, or worse, we damage our minds, then what is the point? This is the problem. We cannot turn our back on meditation. As disciples of the Buddha, we are compelled to practice it. But finding the most standard, most correct path, the one that yields true results, is not at all easy in this day and age. After hearing all this, it's easy to feel discouraged. So what should we do? Do not despair, because we still have the Buddha. The Buddha may be unseen, but he is always by our side. We must have the courage to believe this as we walk his path. Though we cannot see him, we are never truly alone. The Buddha is always with us, always loving us, as long as we open our hearts. First, if we revere the Buddha, we create an immediate connection with him. Second, if we can love all sentient beings and overcome our selfishness, we draw close to the Buddha. Third, If we can cultivate a humble mind, free from arrogance, we open a door for the Buddha to enter our soul. But if we lack these three qualities, the Buddha will seem impossibly far away. Let me repeat. Have reverence for the Buddha, and you create an affinity. Love all sentient beings, and you will be loved in return. By whom? By the Buddha. When you radiate loving kindness, when you vow to love all beings, cause and effect dictates that someone will love you back. That someone is the Buddha. And third, be humble. See yourself as ordinary, as grass, as dust. Then the Buddha will cherish you. But if you see yourself as superior, the holy beings will abandon you. Therefore, Buddhism is a difficult religion. By choosing it, we have chosen the difficult path. But why would we do that? Why not choose an easy path and live a comfortable life? A person who chooses the difficult path, are they wise or foolish? Are they wise or foolish? Usually, we think the wise person chooses the easy path, right? For example, if you want to cross a wide river, one person can drive over the bridge, while another tries to swim. Who is wise? The one who takes the bridge, of course. It's faster and safer. Only a fool would try to swim and risk drowning. Or, if you need rice for the month, you can either spend months planting and harvesting it yourself, or you can go to the market and buy it. Which is wiser? Buying it is faster and easier. So in most cases, the wise person chooses the easy, efficient path. Now, among the world's religions, some are very easy. They promise that if you just practice a little, you will be reborn in a heavenly realm after you die. It sounds wonderful. Then there is another kind of religion that is too difficult. It demands that you perform arduous meritorious deeds, that you confront your own faults, that you sit in painful meditation, that you suffer. It is all very difficult. So, between the person who chooses the easy religion and the person who chooses the difficult one, who is wise? Who is wise? Imagine you are given two numbers, 2 and 3. Which mathematical operation do you choose? You could choose 2 plus 3, which equals 5. Easy, right? Extremely easy. A more difficult operation is 2 times 3, which equals 6. Or 2 minus 3, which equals -1. That's starting to get tricky. What about 2 to the power of 3? What does that equal? 8. Many people have forgotten that. And what about the square root of 3? Even harder. So, with the numbers 2 and 3, the wise choice is to just add them to get 5 because it's easy, right? Why be a fool and make it complicated? Is that person truly wise? Wise or foolish? Wise or foolish? Foolish. Why? Because 2 plus 3 is the math of a kindergartner. But choosing to calculate 2 to the power of 3, or the square root of 3, or the logarithm of 3, that is the math of a highly intelligent, educated person. Do we want to remain kindergartners forever? Or do we want to learn at a higher level? For our whole lives, whenever we see 2 and 3, should we only think of 5? No. As we mature, we should see a multitude of possibilities. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponents, roots. The one who sees these possibilities is the truly intelligent one. It is the same with religion. A path that says, whatever you need, just pray for it. You don't have to do anything else. Is that wise or foolish? You can answer that for yourselves. But a path that is arduous, that requires you to do good deeds, know your own faults, repent, love all beings, and meditate through hardship. The person who chooses that path, are they wise or foolish? That person is truly wise. They are the wise ones among the species that walks on 2 legs. We who sit here together have accepted the difficult path. We have chosen a difficult religion. And if it's already difficult, let's embrace it fully. Let's go all the way. We've already chosen it, so let's not be afraid. Let's endure hardship through this life and all future lives. There is no such thing as practicing only until death. Our vow cannot be limited by one lifetime. Once we have chosen the difficult path of the Buddha, we vow to practice for countless eons to come. Our vow has no end. As long as a single sentient being has not attained Buddhahood, we will not enter nirvana. No more limits. We choose the difficult path and we choose it completely. Are you scared yet? No? Then let's go all the way. And so, we should not be surprised that so few people commit to this path. But if it's too difficult for most people, isn't that a problem? This is the question the great masters of the past addressed. They skillfully divided the path into many levels, from easy to difficult, to suit the capacities of all people. For those who only want to pray for blessings, the masters provide ceremonies for peace and well-being. This is the most basic level, similar to other religions, but it keeps people connected to the temple. For those who are old or feel hopeless, the masters offer a simple path. Just chant the Buddha's name, and you will be reborn in a pure land. This is a skillful means. For those who begin to develop wisdom, the masters teach the law of cause and effect. Do good deeds, my child. Be generous, and you can change your destiny. Be kind in your speech. Praise the noble. This is when it starts to get difficult because the law of cause and effect is profound. Only a fully enlightened being can understand it completely. But for those with wisdom, the masters teach it according to their level. For some, it is simple: be generous, release animals, plant trees. For those with higher wisdom, the teaching is more subtle. When you do a good deed but still wish for a reward, you are feeding your ego. You may be reborn wealthy, but that arrogance will ruin you in future lives. At the highest level, you do good deeds and then forget them, without seeking any reward. And for those with gentle hearts and wholesome roots, the masters teach meditation. Concentrate the mind, sit with a straight back, be aware of the breath, contemplate impermanence. The masters have sliced the path into many layers, from easy to difficult, to guide all beings. We who sit here today have different capacities. Some are here with the simple wish to pray. Some hope for a good rebirth. Some have come to study the law of cause and effect. And some are here to investigate meditation. But remember one thing: Buddhism is very difficult. Whatever we understand now is not the full extent of its difficulty. It is more difficult than we can imagine. Therefore, we must try to guide others to the path. Don't come to the temple alone. Bring friends. Always share the Dharma with others. It is a great merit. But remember that the people you bring will also have different capacities. Guide them according to their level. Don't start with things that are too difficult, or they will become discouraged and leave. For someone with a simple mind, you might just tell a story. My uncle was on his deathbed, but I gave his name to the abbot. He chanted for him, and he recovered. Hearing this, they will be inspired by faith. For those with more wisdom, you can speak of cause and effect. There was a girl who was so plain no one would marry her. But she went to the temple, did good deeds, and chanted sutras. And now she is married. They will understand that through the law of cause and effect, one can change one's destiny. And for those with a philosophical mind, you can speak of meditation, of non-self, of knowing one's own faults. Each of us here must be a messenger for the Buddha. Even if we have not attained great heights ourselves, each of us must be an arm of the Buddha, extending the Dharma to everyone we can. And what of those with whom we have no affinity? We must create one. We must strive our entire lives to connect with others, so that we may then bring the Dharma to them. We have chosen the Buddha's path, and we must understand that it is a very difficult path. Why did we choose this path and not an easier one? Because of a vow from a past life that has reawakened within us. In ancient times, we took refuge and made this aspiration. That is why, in this life, when we encounter the Dharma again, we follow it. We are following a promise made long ago. And though the path grows more difficult the further we are from the Buddha's time, because of that ancient vow, we remain steadfast. And we resolve to walk this path forever, life after life, until we have achieved the ultimate realization, and until all of us, holding hands together, have transformed this earth into a planet of enlightenment, with not a single being left behind. Let me leave you with a final thought. We see wealthy people who live simple lives. When they are hungry, food is there. When they want to go somewhere, a car is waiting. They don't have to struggle or calculate. So we might think that happiness comes from a simple life, and therefore the path to happiness must also be a simple one. Does this sound reasonable? It is completely wrong. That person can live a simple life only because they have immense merit. For them to have such ease today means that in a past life, they struggled immensely to create good karma. Their past hardship created their present simplicity. It is the same in Buddhism. A holy being, an enlightened master, is an extremely simple person. Their mind is empty of calculations. It is filled only with forgiveness, patience, and love. So we might look at them and say, Buddhism is simple. Just be simple and you will find peace. Is this correct? No, this is where we are mistaken. To arrive at that state of inner simplicity, that pure, gentle, humble mind, has taken perhaps hundreds of lifetimes of arduous practice, of tilling the soil of the mind, of repenting for every fault. To take that final, simple state and present it as the starting point is to create a great misunderstanding. In truth, Buddhism is the most difficult path, the most difficult of all difficult things. That is Buddhism. And today, the people sitting here are the ones who have chosen that difficult path. It is as if you were given the numbers 2 and 3, and instead of choosing the simple sum of 5, you chose to explore a complex system of mathematics. Among all the religions and spiritual paths in this world, you have chosen the one that leads to non-self, to the eradication of the ego. It is an extremely difficult path, but it is the right path. It is enlightenment. It is true peace. Namo Original Master Shakyamuni Buddha. MC's voice. The sound of the Dharma resounds like the ocean tide, liberating all worlds. For over an hour, venerable monks, nuns, and the entire Buddhist assembly, we have been bathed in the cool, clear stream of the wondrous Dharma, transmitted and shared by the most venerable to guide our practice on the path to liberation. The most venerable, out of his great compassion, set aside his many duties to grace our meditation hall with his presence and his teaching. For this sublime merit, we know no way to adequately repay him. We can only pray that the Buddhas of the 10 directions will always protect the most venerable, that his Dharma body may enjoy good health, his worldly years be long, and his Dharma age be everlasting, so that he may always be a lighthouse to illuminate the path for us all. At this time, our Dharma assembly has been brought to a perfect conclusion. We respectfully express our profound gratitude to the most venerable. We invite the most venerable, and we invite the entire assembly, to please rise for the dedication of merits.